Hello sewers and crafters, this is Vicki from Miss Vic's Handmaids, and today we will be making this adorable vinyl and cloth pouch. Thanks to our friends at Sewing Report for the free pattern, which I will link to this tutorial so you too can enjoy making this at home. So the tools you'll need today will be the pattern, which I will have linked in this tutorial, some cotton fabric, vinyl, this is 16 gauge vinyl, some clips, rotary cutter, scissors, and of course your sewing machine. Let's get started. We'll take our vinyl, this is the bottom piece. Go ahead and line this up here, take my straight edge, and I'm just going to press down on the pattern and the vinyl at the same time while I cut and try, instead of trying to trace this out. And slide this over. And I will cut the curved edges with my scissors. I'll clip the pattern to the vinyl. Oops, I didn't push hard enough. Let's clip this. It's better to use clips with the vinyl instead of pins, because if you stick pins in the vinyl, it will leave holes, and we do not want to make holes that will be seen in our final pouch. Okay, here's one piece. We'll go ahead and cut the second piece. Have it all lined up. The second piece of vinyl. I'm going to go ahead and put straight down. The excess, holding on to it as I turn the pattern and the vinyl. It's going to be a little tough to see since this is clear vinyl. Go ahead and stick a few clips on here to hold this in place. I'll cut a remainder section on the top, and then I will take my scissors and cut the corners here. There we go. Okay, so we will cut our fabric section, and I believe this, yes, will be a perfect size piece where I can cut both these at the same time. We will also need a lining, 2 lining cuts and 2 exterior cuts. Okay, let me just move that down a little bit out of the way as I just turn here, get this edge, and I decided to use colors with pink since we're getting close to Valentine's Day. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and trim off these little strings here on the top and get that nice and straight. There we go. And now to cut the... I haven't made up my mind yet on which fabric I'll use for my exterior pieces and lining pieces yet. But I'll figure that out. I'm just gonna try to get this close to the edge. Go ahead and cut. Line this up with my straight edge. Stick a clip right about here. And I'll finish cutting the other sides. And we have the interior lining and the vinyl cut. Now we need to cut 2 pieces of our interfacing. I'm just gonna double this up. Mark the right size right there. Let's go ahead and cut. Oops. Open my blade. And cut along here. Line this up. I'm just going to line this up here on the edge, so now I only have to cut 2 edges. Cut along there. I'm going to hold it down, rotate, and cut along this edge. And there we go. We have all our pieces. We have our 2 vinyl pieces. This will be my exterior. This will be my lining and our 2 interfacing pieces. Let's start constructing the bag. So we have the outer fabric already interfaced, and we are ready to start putting this pouch together. But before I go any further, I just wanted to reiterate this free pattern came from the Sewing Report. And as mentioned, I will have this linked so you have access to this. And one other thing about the zipper. This is about 12 inches. It's probably going to be cut down a little bit, but you at least need a 12-inch zipper for this project. So let's get started. Let's take one of the main pieces. We're going to put right sides together. This is a clear vinyl without design, so either side of this can be considered the right side. Let's take the other piece. Clips. Like I said, we want to use clips instead of pins so we don't put any unnecessary holes in our vinyl. So I'm just going to use about 4 clips here. Then we're going to go over to the sewing machine and sew down this edge that's clipped using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. All right, let's get started. Let me pull my thread a little bit. I got a little bit of a tail to hang on to. Have it set at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to do a little bit of back stitching. Let's see, make sure my solution is still there. Alright, a couple stitches. Back stitch a bit. There we go, making sure you keep it at the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Just go nice and slow and steady. Okay, oops. Let's cut thread. There we go. Move these clips out of the way. And there's the second panel. And and 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. Okay. And back stitch. Thread. And there we go. Now we're going to iron these pieces down, and I like to use this neat little it's a hot ironing ruler. We can fold down the fabric side because you don't want to iron over top of your vinyl. It will melt. But we can use this as we iron across and get a nice flat pressed seam, which keeps the vinyl intact. Okay, and there we go. We're back at the sewing machine, and we are going to hot stitch about 1/8 of an inch top stitch. Nice and slow and steady. Trying to keep this as straight as possible. There's a little bit of sticking to the sewing machine with this vinyl, but take your time, go nice and slow. You should be okay. All right, we have our second piece. I'm not gonna backstitch. All that will be captured when we sew the entire bag together. So, oops, there's no need to really backstitch. This is a very slippery. You need to take your time and go slowly when you're using this vinyl. But here we go. We got a nice top stitch. Back to the cut. Next thing we want to do is attach our zipper. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape. One of my favorite things to use when installing a zipper. It makes the job so much easier. We're going to attach the tape directly on the fabric at the edge. Let's go ahead and do both panels. It's a bit easier when it's turned towards me. Let's pull that on down, nice and slow and steady. And I'd like to give it a couple nice presses. That way, we're only going to pull one at a time. That way, it makes sure and ensures that the tape is attached and the paper peels off nice and easy. You see, with this 12-inch zipper, it allows us to apply the zipper tape and have the pull out of the way as we are sewing this on. So we're gonna have a bit of overhang on both ends. And press that down. We also want to take the lining fabric. Let's place some double-sided tape on the edge of the lining fabric. We're going to do this on both pieces of lining fabric, only on one edge. Just take your time. And sometimes I like to take the handle of the scissors and press that in, so you know that it's a good adhesion to the fabric. Okay, we'll just set that piece aside. We'll go ahead and peel the paper. Oops. And always catch the first time. Let's pull the paper off the tape. And we're gonna flip this down. We wanna make sure we line up this lining fabric with the edges of the exterior fabric and this top edge of the zipper. And we have the zipper sandwiched in between those two layers of fabric. Now let's go to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance straight down. And we're back at the sewing machine. I also wanted to point out that I've changed the presser foot to a zipper presser foot, which works very well when you're applying sewing in the zipper. So we're gonna do a couple back stitches. I just want to say back space. There we go. And sew straight down. There we go. And then once we get to the end, backspace a bit and cut it there. There we go. Let's see, once it's sewn on, we have a nice little crease there. Okay, now we're back at our pressing area. We're going to want to give it a nice little press where we just sewed on the fabric to the zipper, covering up the vinyl. Making sure I don't touch it with the iron. We want to flip it over. Good to do a finger press initially. Make sure we have that fabric pulled down as tight as it'll go. I'm going to cover my vinyl again and give this a good press. Then we're going to go back to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch. I like to add a couple clips to ensure a nice tight and straight line for both the lining and the outer material as we're sewing down. Okay, I'll put this back on. Still have my zipper foot on there. I'm going to use this back stitch. So straight down by 1 inch. Back stitch a bit, cut my thread, and there we go. Now we'll go attach the other side of this. Let's go ahead and attach the other section. Now make sure our panels are edges are even. I like to kind of lay this on. I won't press too hard as I put this down, just to make sure everything is lining up as far as the edges, so they look nice. Gonna flip this over, add my second lining pieces, and as you can see, when we do this, we have right sides together. So keep that in mind as you are attaching the lining and the exterior pieces. Same as the exterior pieces, we want to make sure the lining pieces are lining up, the edges are lining up. Just slightly tap to the zipper before we press it. So everything looks nice and even on both sides. I'm just gonna press this down. Same as before. The zipper is sandwiched between these two pieces of fabric. We're gonna go over to the sewing machine and sew down, and we'll iron, top stitch, and move to the next. We have the raw edges of the lining all ironed down. I'm going to add one extra step, which will help as we are sewing this down. I'm gonna just add a line of double-sided tape, and this will help to hold that edge down really nicely for us, so there's no movement as we are sewing, no shifting. Very nice. I'm gonna flip it around and we're gonna do the same for the other side. Just lift up the lining. We're gonna put this double-sided tape right along our sewn edge of the exterior fabric and the vinyl. So press a little bit harder. Okay, there we go. And now I can press the fabric down. And it's wonderful. It stays perfectly in place as we iron it. I'm sorry, as we sew it. And we are back at the sewing machine and gonna want to lay the pouch down with the exterior lining facing up, and we are going to sew a nice little top stitch down, which will, since the front and the back are lined up, this should catch that as we sew. And I'm keeping it right around a quarter of an inch. About an eighth of an inch as I go down. Taking my time, nice and slowly. No rush. All right. And if I didn't mention, I switched my presser foot back from the zipper foot to the regular foot. Let's see, whoops, I'm about to sew in the wrong place. A little bit of the tail on there. Let's see, press a foot down. I'm not gonna back skip stitch. Like I said, all that will be caught when we close the bag up. All right, nice and slow. Okay, cut my thread, and there you go. Okay, our next step is to sew the back together, but we will also be adding binding. You're gonna want to pull your zipper down, probably about midway. Fold your bag together so the bottom edges meet. You want your exterior fabric to be on the outside. I guess we're going to be binding, so we want that to be on the outside and your lining fabric to be on the inside. The vinyl can be a little sticky. You might have to do a little wiggling, but just take your time. Add clips all the way around. And we have everything all clipped, and you're gonna also want to trim your zipper down. So make sure you've brought your zipper pull down to the middle and just clip those ends of the zipper. Let's nice and neat. All right. Okay. The next step will be to add your binding. You have a couple options. If you have 1/2-inch binding on hand that matches your exterior fabric, then that is great. I do not, so I will be making my binding. I'm gonna use the same fabric that I use for my exterior panel. I'm going to cut, I've already marked the back side with my fabric marker. I'm gonna cut several 1-inch strips, sew them together to get approximately 26 inches that will be placed all the way around this bag, and we will attach it where the existing clips are. We will attach our binding. So I'm gonna cut these down. I think this is about almost 10 inches. So it's gonna take about 3 of these. I'll sew these together and have one 30-inch strip. I'll cut it down at the end. But I'm gonna start cutting, and I will show you the next step of sewing these together. I do not have the 1/2-inch binding. I am going to create my own. I just cut 4 of these strips. They're about 10 inches long. We need about, I think, like 30 something inches for the, it might be around 30 inches. I think 26 inches for the binding. So I'm just gonna use this to make my own binding. I'm going to start sewing here at this corner, putting these 2 strips together, right sides together. I'm gonna form a 90-degree angle. I'm gonna shift the fabric around. So this angle here is pointing directly at the needle. I'm gonna lift the presser foot. So lower it, hand lower it. And what we want to do is sew straight across to this point here. Making sure everything's lined up nicely. And just do a back space. Make sure that stays. Cut my thread, lift my needle, and there you go. We have created a continuous piece of fabric to create our binding with. And this can be done with any fabric, pretty much any fabric. If you do not have bindings you've purchased from the store, this is a really quick and simple, easy way to make your own. I'm going to finish connecting these and meet you back at the outer station. And we will cut this off about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Everything lined up. And then sew straight across to the other corner. I like to do like one little back stitch. That way it kind of helps the whole things in place when we take this out and turn it. So now we should have all the binding that we need for the pouch. Okay, now let's go ahead and clip these edges, what we just sewed. Just use your scissors to cut those down. And if you already have pre-made binding, you can definitely skip this step. This is for those who do not have it and want to go ahead and make their own. We want to open up the seams and press them down, press them open. There we go. open up the seam, press open. One more. Okay, and I'd like to flip it over and just iron it on the right side. Let's see. Making sure the seams are open. Be nice and pressed. Now we will fold the binding in half. Let's press. We'll work our way all the way down to the end, but I'll go ahead and show you the next step. We will fold it in half again. I like to do this in sections and then add clips to hold it in place. And then we press this side down. And fold both sides in half. And you have a nice binding piece to add to our pouch. I'll finish and meet you back at the cutting table. So it is recommended that we sew 1/8 of an inch around the bag before we add the binding. I'm going to start in the middle of the bag and work our way around to the zipper. And this is really to help us hold the bag together, keep everything nice and straight. So when we add our binding, using a much smaller seam allowance than we will use with our binding, so you don't have to worry about seeing these stitches. Back stitch. All right. Flip the bag and sew around the other side. Okay. The bag has been flipped, and now we're gonna sew starting from the middle and sew around the other side of the pouch up towards the zipper. I'm just taking my time and going slowly around these rounded edges. Okay, take your time. I'm gonna back stitch here and then cut my thread. There you go. Just the back almost finished. Now we're gonna add our binding. So I'll meet you back at the cutting table. All right, next step is to add our binding. This is gonna be the front of the bag where the side where the zipper ends when the bag is closed. I just put a F there with my fabric print pen, which I can remove with the iron once we're done. So you're gonna wanna flip your bag over. We're gonna start with attaching the binding to the back of the bag. So once that is attached, we're just gonna, once it's attached after we've sewn it, we're gonna flip the binding and the bag over, and we'll be able to go back around and stitch. I'm gonna machine stitch. I will not do a hand stitch on this front of the bag. So this is the back side of the bag. We're gonna start attaching the binding. We're gonna leave probably about 1 inch of an overhang because this will get tucked in and over, so we'll have a nice clean finished edge on the when we flip it over to the front side. I'm gonna line this up right there. I'm gonna I want this to be like just this quarter of an inch. Let's see. I'll line this up because we're gonna be sewing in this crease line right here. So I'm gonna get this all nice and lined up. And it's gonna just take our time and sew. I might add a clip or two just to keep me straight as we're going down. All right, let's get started. Remove that clip. I'm also keeping my eye on the edge of the binding as well as this line here. As we're going down, just to make sure I'm staying nice and straight. We're going to come up, we're coming up onto the curve. So I'm going to, just going to bunch this a little bit. I'm going to start turning and lift the rest of it a little bit. I'm going to start turning the bag. One more stitch, I'm going to turn. Again, still trying to stay within that crease line that we created. I'm going to grab my awl and help tuck that on there so it'll be nice and tight. Turn a little bit more. Okay, continue to turn. Everything's where I need it to be. Okay. Speed up a little bit here on this straight. Now we're going to take a peek. We're coming up on the next curved corner. We're going to do what we did, similar to what we did on the other side. I'm going to grab my awl again. Lift the presser foot and just make some adjustments as we're going around this corner. Lift, adjust, sew. Lift, adjust, and sew. Okay. Like one more adjustment. Make sure that's not bunched too much right there. Okay. So this edge of the fabric is still lined up right there. And we are still sewing in that crease. It looks like we're lined up where we need to be. Also with the vinyl. Let's continue. Just pause and check every now and then, make sure things still straight and looking good. Some stray strings. Alright, we're coming up to the zipper. I'm gonna backspace. I'm gonna cut my thread. And our binding is attached on the back. Next thing we want to do is, let me grab my snips. You're gonna want to go around and just clip. Don't clip the thread, but we're gonna wanna clip right here around these curves, just to loosen that up. So a little bit of tension on that. So we're just go around, loosen this up a bit, and that will allow this fabric to lay nice and flat. Sorry, here's under the camera so you can see that. So now we'll lay nice and flat, and we'll end up flipping the binding over and tacking it down on the right side, and then we will sew. So I'm going to meet you back at the cutting table, and we will get this down and use clips to hold it. It's time to just trim this down a little. I'm going to take a little bit more off this end, and we're going to want to fold this edge. I think I need to take a little bit more, just a little. Let's see, just a little bit more, just not bunched too much. I'm gonna fold this over like this, and we can take a clip and clip that, and then use some clips and go all the way around and clip our binding down before we sew it. I'm going to skip that corner and come back to that and show you how we will deal with that corner. There we go. All the way around, flipping. Okay, so here at the corners, we're gonna just kind of just fold one side over onto itself, like this, and do the same. Just trying to level that out a little bit. And we can do the same for this side. Okay, so I went in and added a few more clips, especially down around the curved areas. Want to make sure nothing shifts as we're sewing, and want to just show you how I brought that fabric over the end of the zipper tape. Let's see this side. So that's gonna cover up that raw edge of that. And now we're gonna take it to the sewing machine and sew all the way around. Back at the sewing machine, let's go ahead and sew up the binding on the front side. I'm gonna slip this under here. Stitches, and then I'll back stitch. Oops. Need to take that clip off. Didn't take that off in time. Have to back stitch a little bit and grab that. Put this here. Let's go nice and slow. Slow and steady wins the race. All right. take out the clips, go nice and slow around these edges. I think my binding was a little bit bigger, so having a little bit of bunching there on the corners, but that'll be just fine. Probably end up giving this pouch to my kid, and she will love it for her school pouch. Okay. Let's continue around making adjustments periodically with the foot as we continue to move around the bag. I like to use my awl to help keep these little parts nice and tight as we go around. I'm going to pull this back towards me, and I can hold this nice and flat, and the needle can catch that easily. All right, we're going around the last and final curve. For this pouch. Okay. Remember, just a little too much, but bring that back and correct it. I was trying to catch like right about an eighth of an inch, so it picks up on the back side as well as the front. Okay, I'm gonna back stitch once I get to the top. Okay. All right, cutting my needle. All right, meet you at the gut. So here we are, a finished pouch. Got a few stray strings to cut off, but overall, this looks pretty good. Really enjoyed making this pouch. It was fairly, very quick to cut out, very easy to sew it together. So yeah, overall, very happy with it. Hope you enjoyed making it. I just want to say thank you again to our friends at Sewing Report for this wonderful and free pattern that I was able to utilize to make this pouch. Take care, everyone, and see you next time.